Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I make my weekly yogurt, which is also very, very easy, just takes minutes. What you're going to need is a clean saucepan, stainless steel saucepan that's non-reactive, a candy thermometer so you can get it up to 180 degrees, a nice whisk to whisk it so it doesn't burn to the bottom, some yogurt, some unflavored plain yogurt. Now this is some from my batch from the previous week. You can use a yogurt starter culture packet if you would like to, or you can use unflavored yogurt from the grocery store as long as it has probiotics in it and the culture that was added after it was pasteurized. You don't want it before because that kills off all the beneficial bacteria that's actually going to make the yogurt. So this is from the leftover from our previous week. You're going to need some milk. This is our fresh milk. If you can see that cream top, it's beautiful. This is from our farm. This is not our farm, the farm that we get our milk from. And then you're going to need a glass jar that the yogurt is going to cook over the next 24 hours. So what you do is I open up my milk, give it a good shake so that cream gets in there good. And then I just pour it into this pan carefully. There we go. There's still a little bit of cream left on top. Then I turn it on to medium, airing on the side of low a little bit. You don't want it to get too hot because you don't want the milk to scald. Now I put this in here so I can keep an eye on that and get it to 180. And I keep this whisk handy, and then I just go and fold laundry or do whatever I need to do while this is gently heating up. And I can a lot of times tell that it's starting to cook. You can just kind of smell warm milk in the house. So I keep an eye on it. A lot of times I'll turn a light on in the kitchen so that as I'm walking by doing different things, I remember, oh yeah, there's something going on in here I need to be paying attention to. Never turn it up to a high heat to get it to heat up quicker. That's not good. It's going to burn the milk. It's not good. So you have to get it up to 180 to kill any of the bad bacteria so that you don't have bad bacteria that's culturing and growing when you're heating it in the dehydrator for 24 hours. You want it to be beneficial bacteria from this batch. So now I'm just going to let this heat up to 180 degrees. All right, so my milk has now gotten up to 180 and it actually just started to bubble a little bit. Sometimes it does that right when it gets to 180, it'll bubble a little bit, but you definitely want to make sure it doesn't get too hot where it scalds on the bottom. So I managed to not do that, which is good because I've done that before and that's no fun to clean the pan, and you have to start over again because a lot of times it makes the milk taste burnt. So it is ready to be removed from the heat, and I just take it and I set it over here on the cool granite, and I leave that temperature thermometer right in there because I want it to cool down to 70 degrees. So I just leave it sit there. It takes a little while. Once it is cooled down, then we move on to the next step, adding it to the jar and putting in our cultured yogurt. All right, so now my milk has cooled down to 80 degrees, so I'm able to pour it into the jar, and I usually just give it a good stir here with the whisk because sometimes there's a little bit of a skim layer that forms on the top. You can see it in the strainer here, or in the whisk here. So I just kind of mix that in, put that in the sink, remove the thermometer. Be very careful with these because they're super fragile. They're just a very thin glass. And I use my funnel because sometimes I make a huge mess with this, or other times I just pour it right into the sink. So you take your milk, and this is roughly a half gallon of milk, and I fill it to about right there. Then I take my culture, and for a half a gallon, I use a cup of the yogurt. So that's pretty easy to remember. Pour in a half of this, and you just dump it in there. And then I top it off with more milk so that it's full. And there we go. Sometimes there's a little bit of milk left over. Just give that to the cat or drink it if you like drinking warm milk. And this is my wooden spoon, handy dandy tool. Give it a nice stir, mix it in. Then what I do to keep critters from getting in there is I take a paper towel and I fold it into square. I put that on top. And I grab a rubber band and I put it on top of here. So it's still able to breathe, but it doesn't, there's nothing that can get inside of there while it's heating up. And then we will bring it down and put it in the dehydrator. Okay, so now my yogurt has been in the dehydrator for 24 hours, and the importance of keeping it in there that long is because the culture actually digests the lactose. That's the sugar, that's its food. It's very similar to the way, well, it's exactly the way that kombucha is made. So by fermenting it for longer, you're getting rid of more of the lactose, which makes it easier to digest, and you're creating even more probiotic benefits, which makes it better for your gut. So that's why I like to ferment ours for 24 hours. The other important part is when you bring it up, it's going to be at 110 degrees because that's what it's been heating at, so you're going to want to just let it sit on the countertop and cool. And then once it's cool enough to put in your fridge where it's not going to be heating everything else up, put it in there and let it sit in there for several hours. That is one of the important parts to getting it nice and thick. So I've gone ahead and done that, and mine has been sitting. Sometimes it separates like yogurt does where the whey is on top. So just put a spoon in and give it a good stir. And sometimes it needs a little bit more stirring, but as you can see, we have a nice thick yogurt here, and it's ready to eat. It smells wonderful. It's nice and tart. I really like mine tart, and the longer that you leave it, the more tart it gets. So I just take my spoon out, put it on a plastic lid because the metal can sometimes react and get a little rusty. And then this is the size of 2 of the standard yogurt containers that you will find at your regular grocery store. This amount of milk costs us just over $3, and the yogurt that we buy at the store that's half the size is probably anywhere from $3 to $5. So you're actually getting two yogurt containers for less than the price of one when you make it yourself. It's a lot healthier. It doesn't have any additives. A lot of times I'll add in like a fruit puree to flavor it with a little bit of maple syrup or some honey or some stevia, but you don't have to have any of the junk. It's a healthy beverage or healthy food for your gut, and it's a great on-the-go breakfast. So that's how I make my yogurt.